As we're discussing the neuroglia, functions of neuroglia, we have already covered the Schwann cell very briefly and the oligodendrocyte. In this lecture, we will see the microglia. These neuroglia, they comprise 10 to 20%, and they are the first line of defense. They are known as macrophages of the CNS, central nervous system. So to activate these cells, the infections, immunomodulators, or the damaged tissue can activate the microglia. And once the microglia is activated, it proliferates and they act the phagocytic role like macrophages. So this microglia have to be activated before the actions like a phagocytic or phagocytosis. So these are the infections or the immunomodulator molecules that can activate the microglia. An activated microglia can also act as an antigen presenting cell in the immune system. They can act as antigen presenting cell in the immune system. Microglia, they clean up the debris of the injured area of the nervous system or the central nervous system. Microglia known to secrete nitric oxide, and also they secrete reactive oxygen species or cytotoxic substances that kill the bacteria or prevent the replication of the virus, and it prevents the neurons or other glial cell from damaging. So these are the first line of defense or CNS macrophages of the CNS. So when we talk about astrocyte, they are like stars. Their appearance are like stars. So from there, the terminology has come, astrocyte. It is abundant in the CNS. About 50% of the neuroglia are astrocyte, and it has numerous processes. And the functions, it provides the physical support to the neuron. It also participates for the formation of blood-brain barrier. It involved in homeostasis or provide a stable environment for the functioning of the neuron. And also it takes part or participate in the repair mechanism. So this astrocyte play a very important role, and it provides also the structural integrity of the nervous system. And also it has many functions like physical support to the neuron or secrete many chemical that also helps in the neuronal growth and also involve for allowing neuron to function properly, provide a good environment for the neuron. So one by one we will see their function. First support, then blood-brain barrier, homeostasis and repair mechanism. Support. Astrocyte, they seal the outer and inner surface of the CNS by forming the glial limiting membrane. So these are the glial limiting membrane, and then they form their processes. They form the outer glial limiting membrane, and also they form the inner glial limiting membrane. So it provides the physical support to the neuron. An elongation of the axon or dendrite, they also require physical support of the astrocyte, because astrocyte they link with the axons or provide a support, not only axon but the dendrites. And when this process is branching or growing or more branching, they require astrocyte physical support. Not only astrocyte physical support, but also astrocyte, they secrete some of the molecule like adhesion molecule, laminin, fibronectin. These molecules also play a very important role for the growth and development of the neuron. Astrocyte also releases neurotrophic factors like nerve growth factor. Those are essential for neuronal survivability. Astrocytic covering or astrocyte covers the area or surrounds the it surrounds the synaptic areas and provide or prevent the signaling or the axon potential or the excitation of the neuron from one neuron to another neuron, from one synapse to another synapse, because it covers that area by the astrocyte. So the signaling will not be go away from that synapse to the other synapse. And so astrocyte physical support is very important for the functioning of the cell or the integrity of the cell or the structural integrity of the nervous system. Astrocyte also participate for the formation of the blood-brain barrier. So the processes of the astrocyte, they are closely attached with the endothelial cell of brain capillaries. And their perivascular end feet, which are attached with the which are very close contact with the endothelial cells of the brain capillary. And it also thought or assumed that it play a very important role for glucose transport. Astrocyte also involved in glucose transport. And this astrocyte also maintain the extracellular environment to maintain the ionic concentration of the extracellular fluid in the nervous system. So it also participates in the blood-brain barrier formation along with the endothelial cell. But formation of the blood-brain barrier, the endothelial cells are the main cell which form the blood-brain barrier. They have the tight junction, but astrocyte also, their end feet, perivascular feet also participate for the formation of it. Then homeostasis. Homeostasis, we have told that it regulates the extracellular environment for proper functioning of the neuron. The pH of the extracellular fluid in the nervous system, ionic concentration, osmolality. And so astrocyte regulates this environment, this component to maintain in a stable or constant manner so that a neuron and the other glial cell can function properly. And this astrocyte also have ionic channel like potassium, sodium, bicarbonate, calcium, and they are able or capable of exchanging this ion with neighboring cells. So for example, if the neuron is excited, so excited means there is frequency of axon potential will increase. When there is axon potential will increase, the excited neuron repeatedly, the potassium will release. The extracellular potassium may increase because of the excitation of the neuron repeatedly. So the neuron cannot function properly if the potassium ion increase significantly in the extracellular fluid. So to maintain the potassium ion in the extracellular fluid, the astrocyte takes the potassium ion and release the potassium to other area of the nervous system where the neurons are less functioning or activity, where the activity of the neuron are less. So in that way also they maintain the ionic concentration of the nervous system so the neuron can function properly. And it prevents the increase of extracellular potassium ion. And also it prevents the accumulation of neurotoxic substances. For example, glutamate. Glutamate is a neurotransmitter. If the neurons are releasing glutamate or as a neurotransmitter, so if it releases more than physiological level, then glutamate becomes toxic to the neuron. So the astrocyte that takes the glutamate from the extracellular fluid or that area where the glutamate is increasing, and it metabolizes to glutamine. Glutamine is non-toxic to the neuron, but glutamate, more concentration, it is toxic to the neuron. So astrocyte, they convert the glutamate to glutamine, and glutamine is non-toxic, and that glutamine can be uptake by the neuron for the production of glutamate again as a neurotransmitter. So they maintain the homeostasis for proper functioning or the continuous functioning of the neuron. Repair mechanism. Astrocyte also involved in the repair mechanism. It participates in repair processes. So in pathological condition, the astrocyte swells up and also it increases number. That is called hyperplasia. Astrocyte, if there is astrocyte swelling also is induced by injury from hypoxia. For example, if some artery in the brain are damaged or obstructed, some area of the brain may not be supplied oxygen sufficiently. So that area undergo hypoxia, and that leads to the astrocyte swelling. And astrocyte swelling also reflects the changes in extracellular ionic concentration and the accumulation of glutamate. And this astrocytes try to remove unfavorable condition, or astrocyte function to maintain the favorable condition for the neuron, to remove all kinds of molecule substances that prevent the functioning of the neuron, or that can change the extracellular concentration or the ion concentration or the substances more than their required level. And if they accumulate more than their required level, more than the physiological level, for example, glutamate, the neuron cannot function properly. So astrocyte, the remove the toxic substances or maintain the ionic concentration of the extracellular fluid for neuronal functioning. Astrocyte proliferate and cover up the injured area. If there is damage and that damaged area or debris are taken up by the microglial cell, that space, leftover space, are filled up by the astrocyte. They form the scar tissue or scar area, and that is called astrocytosis or glial scar. So these are the functioning of astrocyte.